everyone, and welcome back to Cosmo Talks Session 3, powered by Nescafe Gold. Today we're going to be talking about breaking gender norms and the importance of speaking up. We have a fantastic lineup of ladies here to discuss. Let me introduce them to you. We have Shivani, the co-founder of White Noise Media and a storyteller who works with photography, film, and traditional art. We have Stephanie Siriwardana, an entertainer, singer, and activist, and the founder of the Stephanie Siriwardana Foundation. We have Sharanya Sekaram. She identifies as a feminist writer, researcher, and activist, and works primarily as an independent consultant in the gender space. She and Vidya Kumar Singh have co-founded a feminist storytelling collective called Everstory Sri Lanka. And then we have Nabila Yassin. She runs a line of fine jewelry called Stoned and is the founder of Not Your Nangi and is the marketer at Golden Eagle. Thank you so much for being here, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
So let's dive right in and get started with our topic today. So, we often find individuals undervalued, disrespected at work, and even in their personal lives. You get your boss telling you, that doesn't work for you, and that can hold women back. And plus with COVID-19 and everything that's been happening, we've also noticed a lot more struggles that are gender-based. For each of you, how important is it to speak up, to have your voices heard? Sharanya?
See, for me, Shyam, I think a lot of it has to do with the privilege that you hold, right? If you hold privileges where you can actually speak up without being afraid of backlash, whether it's having a supportive family situation where you won't face backlash from your family for speaking up, whether it's class privilege, language privilege, or whether you hold a certain public space or you're able to influence public opinion. I think that, and I'm thinking of that in the context of those of us who are speaking on this topic, I think it's all the more important to speak up because you can. And by speaking up, you carry the voices of those who can't speak up, who may not be heard, who may be speaking but who may not be heard, but also who can't, because sometimes you can't because you will lose your job. You will struggle, in a difficult home situation. You don't have the time, you don't have the space to speak up. So when you can, if you have the privilege to, I think it's vital to speak up.
Okay. Shivani, what are your thoughts?
I completely agree. I think that's what's been on all our minds, the importance of speaking up. The only thing I would add to that is that one way I feel that we can speak up as women is through our work. I think, just speaking literally to in the face of the person who is affecting you is one way, but another way is through your art, through your activism, through your actions, through your film and photography, and through your business work and your business ethic. I think that's one way of speaking up, and by example, I think it can really achieve something.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I totally agree with both of those, and I think there are so many reasons why you might not be able to speak up, but it's so important to speak up because, see, we all have boundaries, right? Mm-hmm. And the more you let people cross those boundaries, it affects your self-worth. I have been in situations like this, and the more these boundaries get crossed and your self-worth goes down and down and down, then you start feeling worthless and insignificant, and then what happens to you? You're not living to your fullest, which is what we're all here to do in this life. So it's really important that you stand up for yourself and you stand up for your beliefs and you vocalize it, no matter how much that fear or the repercussions, that fear of that repercussion might paralyze you to be silent. I think you owe it to yourself to vocalize that, or through your arts and through your actions to do that. Somehow you have to, because in doing that, that's how you slowly start empowering yourself. So it's very important.
Yeah, I think what Stephanie just said, it's a lot to do with your own personal self. Mm-hmm. And personally for me, I could not be doing a job in which I can't speak what my value system wants me to say. And luckily for me, though, the jobs that I've worked before starting Stone, I was able to express myself, which is why I think those two jobs have such a vital role in who I am and what I chose to do today. And speaking up for yourself, it really just boils down to your self-esteem. the more you shut yourself, the less worthy you start feeling like you, and that really dribbles out onto so many other aspects of life. And this is really about empowering our own selves, because if you don't speak up for yourself, nobody is going to. No one's going to come and step in for you.
Absolutely. I mean, and then gender stereotypes, they hold women back. And you even start questioning your own abilities. You'll start lowballing what you've achieved. And it unlike men, we tend to shrug off when someone plays as a compliment, says, oh, you did a great job at that. And that can also lead to a lot of like a lack of self-confidence.
Can I add something there? So I wasn't confident at all. Like I went through a whole phase. I was so totally insecure and growing up. And one of the things I learned and I noticed was whenever people paid me a compliment and I was insecure, I would just give the no but, and I would just put what I did down, or they'd be like, oh, you look great. Oh yeah, but look, there's a hole. But I don't know, just so it always not accept the compliment. And then I made an active choice that no matter how I feel, I would just say thank you. And in that tiny word, and in accepting it, it just helps you build your self-confidence. So that word, just even though you might not feel comfortable to take it, just stop the noise and be like, thank you. I think that's a great exercise for all of, like for everyone. It helped me a lot.
That's great. And that actually kind of brings me to my next question is, what do you guys think about, what do you suggest young women in general can do to actually bridge this confidence gap, and what can they do for themselves?
I mean, I think what Steph said, right, is it's at making active choices. And then the second thing is, for me, what worked and what I know has worked for many women I know around me is surrounding yourself with people who do two things for you. One is that they boost you, right? They constantly tell you how wonderful you are, and they do boost you, but they also don't do it for the sake of doing it. They also hold you accountable. So they compliment you and they make you feel good, but they also do that in a way that they tell you, I have your back no matter what. So when I tell you, hey, this wasn't great, or maybe you could have handled this situation in this way, you take that from them, because they're not your critics, they're your allies. So I think it's so important to build a tribe around yourself of not just people who constantly tell you how wonderful you are, but who also help you, work with you to be the best self that you can be. Because then they create this incredible safe space, and you can always sort of turn to them and be like, they will tell you the truth, but they will tell you the truth in a way that helps you move forward and be better. And I think that tribe can just completely change your self-worth and who you are, and how you navigate this world, because it takes a village, right?
Truly does. Shivani, your thoughts?
I love that idea of a tribe. Like I also have my own, like where for me it's like I share my work with other professional women, like young women who are doing work, and they share their work with me, and we kind of do the same thing where there's an exchange, and then you kind of contextualize yourself in this sphere. With context, I think it's easy to actually have that confidence and be like, I'm a part of something bigger, that part of this thing that's happening with all these women and all these professionals in Sri Lanka. So that's something I do. And also I think it's important sometimes, I think we mix, have like looking at yourself and being like, you did good, with vanity. I think we shy away from it because we're like, oh, I don't want to be arrogant, I don't want to be full of myself. But it's not full of yourself to actually love yourself and look at your work and be like, you actually did good. So I think it's very important to take that time out and be like, you did it, you killed it. So like say that to yourself,
So true. I mean, tribe, totally agree. I mean,
but not everybody is that lucky, I personally feel. Like, I think we are very fortunate if we can say we have some good female friends. And I personally,
I mean, it doesn't need to be female. I've had most of the
friends.
people who pushed me in my life were males.
But I've also learned that it's an accumulation, because I feel like now as I'm growing up, I would say, it happens over time, but what really adds more value is when you know what you bring to the table. When you know, okay, you may not be the best at what you do, but when you know your potential, but you also need to know that you're flawed. It's like
To being
accepting the
real
fact
with
that
yourself,
you're nothing
yeah.
extraordinary.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know what you're bringing to the table. So
Yeah.
when someone compliments you, it's about taking it right.
But also strive to be extraordinary.
But then if all of us strive to be extraordinary, extraordinary becomes the new ordinary.
Which is great. It's a win-win.
It's a win of potentials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's about knowing what you bring to the
But
table.
I think also
I also-
absolutely what you said, Nabila, is that not everyone has it, and it's an ongoing process, right?
Yes,
Like
I-
some people are there for you at a certain point in time,
Yeah.
and it's also okay to accept that those things may not be permanent.
Yeah.
That you had this great group and you grow out of each other, but you can still appreciate what you had at that point in time with
like
each
it's an
other.
accumulation of time.
It
Like,
is, it
I
is.
feel like the friends I have now, it's not something that happened overnight. And
Absolutely.
they're such supportive
Yeah.
and like constructive criticism. But
Yeah.
I know 6 years ago, I thought, okay, I didn't have anyone like that. I don't have a friend who
Yeah.
could come and tell me, you're doing good, but hey, you need to straighten up, you're acting this way. So it's something that happens over time.
Yeah.
But one thing that stays a constant is you knowing what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
I
also
also
opening
want to
yourself up with that energy. I feel if you put that energy out into the world, if you are that person,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
also energy is also brought into your life. And I really believe that it is that exchange of energy, because I feel the minute I opened myself up and started offering people the support I needed,
You got
I
it.
found that
You
support.
reciprocated, yeah.
Right? I
And it's
found
a
that
beautiful
support. And
friendship.
it's such an incredible
Yeah.
process
Be the
that
change
starts
you want to be in
happening.
the world.
And it really is. It really is that exchange of energy that happens because you're opening yourself up to bring that energy into your life.
Yeah.
And it's
You kinda
about
attract
what
it.
what you
Yeah.
put out is what you
Your
get
vibe
in.
attracts your tribe.
I love that.
I also
Your vibe
want to
attracts
add
your
that confidence is very much a mental state. And I will say, I say this very often, I also think there's a huge element of faking it till you make it.
Yes.
So I know I had to Miss Universe pageant. I had two beautiful beauty queens standing side by side. Both of their hips are the size of my one hip, and I had to go in a bikini. And I remember being so scared, and I did not feel confident. And I was like, you know what are my strengths? I'm a dancer, listen to the music. And I just hyped myself up mentally. And I managed to do this awesome walk with a 360 spin. And yeah, so it was temporary for that moment, but it strengthened me. So every time you mentally kind of, say, you know what, I am amazing, I am this. You reassure yourself, put those positive affirmations around you. And once that's how you kind of program your mind, you will find out. It's like Michael Jackson's song. It says, be careful what you say because the lie becomes the truth. I mean, in this case, it's a great lie, but it'll become the truth. So it's really important to also have that mental kind of, it's a game that you play and test it. Play with it a bit, and you see that when I went dancing, when I was insecure about myself, nobody asked me to dance. But if I hyped myself up mentally, all of a sudden everybody asked me to dance. So it's an energy, like you said, that you put out. I
Also,
believe
don't you
there's a
feel
huge
like
element of
as you get older, don't you feel like everyone is like, women are very this thing about their age or whatever, I don't know, but don't you think as you get older you own
I
things,
love getting-
right?
I love getting older.
Exactly.
The level of independence that
So
comes
you
with it.
kind of, I think the confidence builds with
Yeah.
age. Like it's
Yeah.
just
Oh,
like
it's
you
true.
just start owning
I think
it.
the biggest lie we tell women is that getting old is the
It's a
worst.
bad thing.
It's the best thing. Every year, every decade.
I love
So good.
think I'm like cheese.
Oh, I'm so happy the older I get. It's so good. you grow into your own skin
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
much more.
That's
I
the
wouldn't
truth.
screw the fountain of youth, right? I'm so happy to get older because I just and this is this amazing thing. It's true. But it's this amazing thing you also watch, right? You watch if you've known someone for many decades, and I see it with you. I've seen it with you. I've watched how you moved from your teens into your 20s, like with you, Nabila, and then with you, I watched when you made that crossover from your 20s to your 30s, and it just got better. Like
I
you were
love
just
it.
greater versions of yourself because we're evolving projects. We're not books that are written and then over.
Yeah.
We're ongoing. We're constantly evolving, and so it's getting older is the best.
It is.
Much better.
I think it's just society that makes us
Yeah.
you know, puts these thought process of getting all these bad, white hair is bad, this is bad. You just, like Sharanya said, you just threw the fountain with you.
Yeah.
I feel like it unlocks so many boxes in your head, and like your perception really changes. And I know 10 years from now I'm going to be thinking something, it's going to be very different from how I thought life was 10 years
And
ago.
also you're able to filter, if I can use this word, the bullshit a lot better once you're older. You can just...
You also have a lower tolerance for it.
Yes,
Yep.
that's true. Which is great because, you know...
Your
you have this-
self-care also gets better as you get older, I think, generally.
Yeah.
You're just like,
The people I feel who have the most amount of confidence that I have seen are women in their 60s. Something about women in their 60s, because they've hit the point where they're like, thank you, next. They really are. You know, I'm watching my mother and her peers. It's such a phenomenal place in their lives because they've become the people they want to be. They don't really care. And also something older women have told me is nobody looks at us, no. We're invisible to society, so we can do what we want because now nobody is watching us, right? And it's such a amazing thing. It's like you said, I think your self-care gets better, you know, you've unblocked things and you've just learned to like be yourself. And I think the second you embrace every year passing as a better version of you and a different version of you, yeah, something just becomes so great about that.
Wines. Well, wines.
That's
We're all
life.
wine.
Wow, deep convo, you guys.
This is great.
Coffee is really making us
Coffee
Cafe
is
Gold.
Do we get refills?
Yeah, you will.
Oh, great.
You mentioned a little while ago about understanding or knowing what you bring to the table, and I find that is a lot of girls struggle in that. What do you think they can do to actually figure out what they bring to the table? How do they go about identifying?
I think I got really lucky. My mom has always been like my biggest cheerleader. So she really made me feel like, you know, go get it, girl. But I've just come to realize it's really, I have so many of my friends who I think are like, wow, 100% awesome, but they just don't see it. And it's really about taking that step back and saying, okay, what am I bringing to the table? What are my key positivities? Like, what can I really create? Like you could be great at law or great at art, and you know you can create something out of that. And even as a person, if you know, okay, I know I'm strong-headed, that's something you're bringing to the table. You know you're not going to take anything from anyone if you don't have to. So the moment you know what you're bringing to the table and someone goes beyond what you're going to take in, you're going to stand up for yourself because you know your worth. When you know your worth, I feel like it changes how you speak with people, it changes what you take into your life, it changes how you deal with problems or deal with even just passing comments. I realize there's some sort of flow that comes into you that
I think one thing that you should do is, I mean, it came from my grandmother. So I remember like I told her, I used to be insecure. She's like, have you ever just stopped being you, kind of took a step back and looked at yourself objectively? I was like, oh, well, let me do that. And to take it a step further, why don't you treat yourself like a product? Do a SWOT analysis on yourself. It's really, I think it's great.
yeah.
Write your strengths, write your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. Whoops, that's my mic, sorry guys. You know, so do a SWOT analysis on yourself. It's so eye-opening, and it's only when so my mom, again, like you, so she was my greatest critic and my greatest cheerleader. Yeah, you know. And so what she did was she compiled everything I had kind of achieved into this one document. But the thing is, I'm just doing my thing, right? I had never seen it collectively. And then one day she's like, by the way, I just want to show this to you. And then when I looked at it, I was like, all compiled. I was like, oh my God, I did this. And all of a sudden, I was like, okay, I have a lot to bring to the table. And then when I did the SWOT analysis, I learned so much about myself, and I was able to see where my weaknesses are. And up to date, I'm still working on them. You know, whether it's by yourself, whether it's with your tribe, or whether it's with a counselor, whoever it is that you need to work on your weaknesses to improve, because we should always improve. it's just all of that leads to empowerment and self-confidence, and you being the best version of yourself to just kill it at life.
Slay the day.
Yeah, exactly.
I love these
Swap
little.
that. Yeah.
I need to write them down.
And we have like little
No, because
quotes that
also
come
when
out
you know
of
your
this.
work, you are at work 5 times a week, 9 to 5. There's going to be so many ugly moments, but when you know your worth, those ugly moments just don't matter. Like someone can say something to you that's a little insulting, but if you know your worth, you're just like, bye.
Also, yeah,
Don't care.
I would say like being honest with yourself, and that like being honest, like that we're all on the same level playing field, and then kind of maybe stripping off this idea that you might have of yourself sometimes that can be a block. Just stripping it bare and being like, actually, what am I doing, what am I good at, what am I bad at? So when someone says you are not good at this, it's okay, maybe they're right even. So like to be
My
open
husband's that
to that.
person. Like, he knows me so well, like the inside, like Stephanie on the inside that sometimes I'm in denial about. He's like, yeah, just own it. I'm like, you're right. Like you said, you just strip it bare, and then that's when you can work on yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you actually see it clearly.
Yeah, I think also a big part of that is, I think what you guys kept saying so much, which is also being honest with yourself, right? So a lot of the time what we do is we say, oh, I'm not good at this and I'm not good at that. We don't do anything about it. So we are just like, oh, I'm not confident, I don't do.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's also about, like I said, we're an evolving project. So it's also about being honest with yourself and taking ownership of yourself. There's the serenity prayer, right, which is like, give me the strength to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to know the difference, and understanding, like for me, a lot of what I didn't like about myself is stuff I had to work really hard to unpack, and work really hard to kind of unpack and talk about and be open with. And I think also, I go back a lot to what you put out is what you get in. Tell people when you think they're fantastic, tell them. Don't
100%.
wait. Like, don't
Even if it's a
wait.
random person on the street and you see
Yeah,
something.
don't do that.
Really, I
Too
don't
much.
do that.
Okay, we're not all you. We're not all you.
I
Some
think
people might
so.
call the
How do you know?
police.
Maybe they're
but-
having a terrible day.
Yeah,
and
no,
that
but
Well, that's
definitely.
nice
sentence
actually. Yeah.
I've noticed, yeah.
Sometimes people come and say,
so
happy.
say something like,
Yeah, and you're just like, no,
I'm like,
always
thanks,
do
I
that.
needed that today.
But also
Yeah,
even just
it's
smiling at
Yeah,
people, like at the supermarket, like sometimes someone, little things like
now you
somebody
can't.
letting them through, now can't, but can smile, no, I
Your
can't
eyes
smile.
can- you can
Your
kind of
eyes
smile
can
with a
smile.
smile.
Just
The
smile
eyes-
crazy
Your eyes
with your
can-
eyes.
But also little
Smile.
things, right? Like
Yeah,
I
that's what
remember
it is.
I was in line once at supermarket, and so everybody had these huge like trolleys, and this guy just had 2 things, and I said, oh, why don't you go in front of me? And then everybody in the line started doing this, and he got to the top of the line. But I found that it was a ripple effect, right? So even in a supermarket, when you smile, like I remember my mom smiled at someone once. She came and she said, dear, thank you so much. It's so nice when someone smiles. Which my poor mother is like, I just smiled.
The nicest people are the ones
But
who
it's that
return those
vibe.
smiles.
Yeah, just smile. Like, or just say hello. Like if you live, wherever, see people regularly, good morning, not hard.
I think everybody's. So what I have noticed, it's like in Canada when I was in the metro, I always tried to keep a very positive atmosphere around me, and I would smile at people, like a very conscious decision, because what I realized was that everybody's afraid to make the first move, but they all want it. So we all want the same thing, to feel accepted, to feel like, oh look, that person smiling at me, or it gives you this warm fuzzy feeling. But the thing is, everybody wants to have this, okay, I'm the calm, collected, and but then the minute someone does it, it's like everyone gets, everyone eases up to be like, oh, okay, we have permission to do this. So it's important to kind of be the catalyst for that. And also adding to your previous point, Sharanya, where you said be honest with yourself. This is where silence is so important. And I think that's what we're missing in this day and age, especially with the cell phone.
Yeah.
Cell phone, that's what it's called, right? Telephone,
Yeah.
whatever. So there's so much noise, and we're just running like guinea pigs. So one thing that I always used to do was go to the convent in Italy, where my aunt is a nun, and that would give me silence. But people now have understood the importance of meditation and all that. It's really important because it's in that silence that you can go through that internal chatter, and it's normally that chatter that kind of dictates all your choices. So if it's negative and it puts you down, your life is a reflection of that. So it's so hard. Trust me, being silent and listening to yourself can sometimes give you panic attacks where you just like, no, let me put Netflix on. I can't handle this right now. It's really difficult, but the biggest gain comes from doing that.
Yeah.
That's where you actually grow, not just by 1 or 2 steps, by actually leaps and bounds. And this was something, again, I actively had to do because I started from a very insecure place, and it was something really important. So I feel like that's something I'd really like to share. Just try to do that, even if it's for 5 minutes, and work your way up.
Daily meditation, yeah.
Yes. I mean, I don't meditate, but
Yeah, but even just, I mean, you and I were
I
talking
want
about.
to try.
But Nabila, you and I were talking about morning balcony coffees
Yeah.
by yourself, and even that, like really small, like I take that half an hour for myself every morning. World of difference.
It's about how you start the day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I used to just
Even
start.
makes a
by
difference,
yourself.
it truly does.
Nescafe Gold, you can start
Yeah,
the day.
I've done that. Do we get refills, or can I,
You will get a
I've already
refill.
finished it.
Let's
Give us a few.
It's that good.
It's
Cafe
that good.
guys.
You don't.
Doesn't
You're not getting paid to say that though.
Like, give me a free packet. I like Nescafe Gold.
Oh my god.
Don't get back. Conversation.
Oh my gosh.
So a frequent topic that comes up around gender stereotypes is asking for a raise. It's almost like a pet peeve of a topic. Stephanie, what are your thoughts?
Asking for a raise. Well,
How
the thing
can
is,
actually someone go about having a conversation with their superior about asking?
See, I haven't
for
been in the corporate world,
No.
so it's a bit different for me. But I did have to up my prices, so it's kind of. So what I noticed in my industry, so I self-employed artist, so that way there's no one really that to say, hey, can I have a raise? It's more like, this is my rate, and either you want to hire me and you think I'm worth it, or you don't. Or there are others who are cheaper. And one thing I noticed in doing that was you need to be so sure of what you bring to the table. And one of the things I had to do to justify my raise in price was tell them, listen, this is the quality I offer you, this is the dedication I offer you, and this is the ownership I take of whatever project I put my name and face to. And now it's your call of whether you think I'm valuable, because I have my track record. You can take a look at that. And then the decision's kind of in your hands. And you have to kind of play hardball a little. There's a little bit of a hardball kind of poker
for
scene
sure.
that goes on there as well. By poker, I mean poker face.
Yes.
But see, I'm sure it's very different in a proper corporate environment. I'm not sure, because I'm not in one, so I'm just talking from an
No, and that's
artist's
what I want
perspective.
from your point of view.
Yeah, so from my point of view, I think you need to know what you bring to the table. You need to know your strengths, and you need to be able to look them in the eye and be like, I know my worth. Because a company, okay, this is something I tell a lot of people. I work with companies all the time, and I have seen so many individuals exploited by companies. And one thing I always tell them is, this company, regardless of whether you keel over and die tomorrow or not, no matter how much of your heart and soul you're giving this company, they will continue. You know, you might think you're so important to this company, but they will continue. It's up to you to fight for your rights, because nobody's ever going to fight for your rights. And you should be getting compensated for the work you do, because nothing in life is free. You know, nobody's going to pay your bills. When you have a crisis and you need to go to hospital and you need to pay your bills, you think a company is going to give you charity? No, they might not, unless they have a really good, like, chairman and CEO who's very like humanitarian, or there's a special fund for those things. So you need to know your worth, and you standing up for yourself and saying, listen, I deserve a pay for the overtime I'm doing, and you know, the amount of time I dedicate to this and take away from my family, I deserve a price for it. You need to stand up for yourself and say it confidently, looking them in the eye, because they know that's the reality. But they will always, like the company will always fight for their benefit, which is pay you less, get, and suck the life out of you. Sorry, companies, I love you all. Please hire me. Don't start revolutioning your company. But just again, it boils down to knowing your worth and knowing that it's not wrong to ask. You're not asking for charity. This is where a lot of people get scared. I feel they feel like it's like, please, can I have a raise? You're not asking for charity. You're working for that. So it's your right to have that. So that's where you have to have that mind shift. Be like, I'm not asking, please help me. This is not charity. This is, I deserve this. And I know I do. And I know that once you pay me that, I'll have better motivation to give you even more than that. So I think that's where you kind of have to speak up for yourself.
I will add that for me, I see there are two things also there, right? One is, I think you need to do your research before you go to ask for a raise, because we live in a culture where nobody wants to talk about money. Lajjane, can't ask, but you need to, right? You need to do your research. You ask around, find out what the average going rate for your kind of work is. What is it in your industry? What is the status of your industry? Go armed with having done your research, because then they can't just dismiss you and say, no, nobody's getting paid that. This is not the reality, right? Like, look through annual reports, do what you need to do. Again, like, do your own research, right, on yourself. What do you bring to the table? The second thing I will say on this asking for a raise thing is, I think a lot of us are slowly moving into positions of influence, where either we're starting organizations, or we're in positions of power at organizations, or we ourselves hire people. And I think we have a huge potential to be able to shift the culture. So for example, with Every Story, Vidya and I are now going to internally with the staff publish our salary rates. We're going to tell everyone, this is the rate you're paid. Like, this is how much interns are paid, this is how much program officers are paid, this is how much finance and admin is paid, this is our going rate for your qualification, so that it's transparent. And a lot of feminist organizations do this, right? They're very open about, because if you are open, then your employees also trust you, right? They're like, okay, you're communicating with us. And likewise, I think within those of us who are in positions of power can start doing that, making those mini revolutions in our positions of power and say no, this is how much I'm getting paid, or this is how much I was getting an increase, so that it's out there. Because it's a very South Asian thing, I've noticed, to be weird about money and how much you're getting paid. Because when I started working,
paying the bill at dinner.
But when I started working in the international space, very openly they're talking about it. I'm like,
yes.
I was horrified. Like, this Sri Lankan auntie in me was like, mustn't say, mustn't talk, how terrible. But it's so false. It's so false, because like you said, it's not charity.
Exactly.
You're being compensated for work that you do, right? And I think for all of us,
they're gaining from it way more than you are.
Absolutely. And know your worth, right? And I think also it helps to bring a group with you when you're asking for a raise. That helps. Because the power in numbers. I found that it really makes a difference, because you create a group. I mean, I'm in development, right? I'm not in, but the interactions I've had with corporate, I think it helps to also have those conversations with your peers and with the people on the same level as you, so that you're not dismissed as the one case who's trying to be difficult, that it's about a structural issue. And I think that's really important.
I would say that when you enter space where you are trying to take up space and you're like, this is what I'm worth, and you've made an assessment of what you are giving this company, and you made an assessment of the fact that your work is high quality, it deserves this much, it deserves more than what you're giving me, and you've made that assessment. I think a lot of it is to do with the way you carry yourself. I think when you enter that room,
Body language.
and when you are going to ask for a raise, you need to believe yourself that you deserve it, and that will reflect from your body language and the way you talk in your language. I think a lot of people, like everyone said, go into it very timidly and embarrassedly themselves, and maybe I shouldn't be, and I feel a bit weird to ask you. You should go in this is what I should get. And also know, it helps if you know that they need you more than you need them. They need your work more than, if you can say that yourself, then it's not a problem.
So this is the shameless plug where I say, listen, I teach body language. Use them as your arsenal.
Everyone tuning in, this is Cosmo Talks, session 3 with Sharanya, Shafani, Stephanie and Navila, powered by Nescafe Gold. Okay, moving to our next question. many women may not necessarily want to weigh in on topics that are more male dominated or step into roles such as those. How do you think we can move confidently into these male dominated industries and actually speak up? Shirani?
So I think those of us who are who are younger than 35 are living in a brilliant time where so many women older than us have already paved the way for us. I think we're very, very fortunate. We really are standing on the shoulders of women who've done the hard work already, right? Who've been the first, who've been successful, who've been public about it. I mean,
and who've gone through all the fire. And
and who've done that number, right? So
Shot.
I think that we're very, very lucky. We need to really see that as a brilliant opportunity and seek out those women. Because I don't think now in Sri Lanka there are very few fields which have not had any women at all. There have been women who have moved into those fields, even very male dominated ones. I mean, when you're looking at corporate, you're looking at engineering, you're looking at aeronautics, you're looking at pilot. I mean, there's been someone in almost all of these and who has been fairly public about their involvement in that field. So for me, I have always drawn strength from the women who have come before me. I really think we just stand on the shoulders of the women who paved the way for us, right? So my sort of advice is always to try, because they're usually very, I have hardly met women who have been in these positions who are not open about it, who aren't willing to pull others with them, and just shoot an email, find them, on whatever public profile that they are, and just send a message and say, like, I'm interested in this field, can we have a chat, or can you give me some advice? It's very rare that they, but also be respectful. Now understand that you are asking for their time, and so don't throw a hissy fit because they didn't respond to you in like 2 days. Like, I've got those messages sometimes where you didn't respond to me. Like, okay, give me a minute, but do it with respect and do it. I think that has a huge impact because they will tell you really the truth of what it is like and how you navigate. The second is, I think, Shyam, we need to stop thinking of it as men and women. There is a reason women have been held back. There are structural, systemic issues that we've been held back, right? But once you start breaking through those, you start thinking of yourself as a person and what is the value you bring and why do you want to be in this field. And once you own that and it's going to be difficult, right? I mean, I have friends who are in the aviation space who sometimes say, like, the nonsense they hear, they're just like, really? Like, we're still dealing with this? But understand that is a process and think of it as a legacy. When you move into a male-dominated field, you are yet another woman who is bringing that balance. So think of that contribution is greater than just you going in. You are another woman bringing balance to that scale, little by little, and paving the way for another woman to be able to come forward in there. And I think once you think of it on those terms, it doesn't feel like so intimidating. I think it'll help.
So for me, I do photography and film. So if I go into a photography convention or camera fair at BMICH, it's 99.9% men. But I think I expected that when I entered, and like she said, you have to keep your eye on the ball. It's about the work, end of the day. It's not about you being female or male. So that requires some kind of toughness, some sort of insensitivity to these things, and blinders, and like just your eye on making the product, making your film or whatever the thing that you're working on, making it excellent. So I've just kind of ignored things, I think, as I've gone straight towards that. And wherever it has been like, oh, you're a girl, I've tried to use it to my advantage. Like, let's say, when I was like at Yamu, like ages ago when they just started, and I went into a restaurant and they were like, oh, because they were expecting like 2 big men with bags and all, but it was just tiny me with a hijab and like just all my stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna shoot you all now. And they were just like, oh, we didn't expect you. And then I was like, yeah, and then that element of surprise or whatever, like it disarmed them. I feel like even in documentary filming, they will open up to me more than maybe my male colleague. Because sometimes they even see as a girl with a camera, you're less threatening. You're not scary. But with a man with a camera, it's like, oh, what are you going to do kind of thing. So I use it to my advantage in that sense. I find it helps me, my femaleness of it actually sometimes helps
Yeah.
me in unraveling a story or telling a story in a very sensitive way, or like entering a person's home and they let me into private spaces that they might not let somebody else into. So I guess it's also about knowing yourself and knowing who you are and what you can do regardless of your gender, and how you can navigate that and negotiate that to, like,
Owning what you bring to the table.
yeah, and have it reflect in your work.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, thank you. I think women also need to be very welcoming of other women entering the fields
Yes.
that they are in which
Yeah.
they're the only ones, because we often have this. Women are you. I think it's kind of common to have people pit against each other when they are the
Yeah.
only ones standing out.
We're
But
socialized in
like
that way.
this notion of, oh, she's the younger one, or she's the prettier one who has now entered, and that downplays the current female at work. And it's about really embracing the other female, because it works out in the bigger picture to have a bigger gang, like power in numbers. But we often overlook that. That's something I really noticed, where when you enter not just the field, say a group of employees, and there's only one female working or two females working, but when the new one makes the entrance, it's so hostile for women, by women, because we're made to seem, to consider each other as competition by our peers. But there's nothing wrong in having somebody who you perceive to be on a higher pedestal than you, but in reality it's not the same thing, it's just in your head.
Yeah.
So I think as women, we need to be more welcoming of other women entering our fields.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, because just because somebody is doing better than you in your own field, oops, doesn't mean that you're going to do any worse.
That's
But I
really
mean, the
interesting because
patriarchy
in
has
my-
done that to us,
Yes,
right? The
because we pit
patriarchy has
women up
pitted women
against-
against each other, because if we're busy fighting with each other, we're not focusing on the men who are taking over
But the
everything.
bigger picture is the
Right,
more we
so
ally
you
with
See,
each
really
other.
have to fight
what's-
against that.
See, that's what's interesting. So in my industry, it's very short-lived. Like as a woman, my career, yes, I'm good at what I do, but my looks also, they play a role. Like I would be lying if I say it doesn't. So we always, like the women in my industry, obviously know that there's going to be someone younger and prettier who's going to come. It's the inevitable, right? That's how entertainment works. So that hostility is not quite there, because you just know that's what's
But
going to
I've noticed it in most corporates where, say, there's a female in a position of power, and then a younger executive comes in. I've noticed there is this, because we've made
I
to
think
pit
it's
ourselves up
I think it's
against each
also
other.
insecurity. I think the more secure you become with yourself and what worth your work has, the less you start
Absolutely.
looking
Yeah.
at, like,
So I think in male-dominated fields, we need to welcome more women if we're in it. With
But I
one
also
one thing in
noticed-
Sri Lanka that I have noticed, and see, what's interesting is in Canada, most of my friends are female. But in Sri Lanka, apart from very few exceptions, all my friends are guys. Because I have noticed in Sri Lanka, women, and I know I might be generalizing here, so please don't
hold it against
hold
you.
it, thank you. A lot of women kind of base their self-worth by comparing themselves to other women. Being like, okay, is she doing this better than me? Is she doing that? They benchmark another human being, another woman, and then based on where she ranks herself in comparison, she's like, okay, that's my self-worth, so I'm better than her, or I'm worse than her, and then I'm going to be a little hostile towards her, which is so wrong. Because that's where you have to embrace your individuality. It's like our fingerprint. Like no two people are the same. We're all unique. We all bring our own unique differences and strengths to the table. So that's why I feel like in Sri Lanka, you need to promote, just not benchmarking or even looking and comparing yourself with anybody else, because you're unique. How can anyone else be you, and how can you be anybody else?
But Steph, I think two things there, right? I think one is that we forget that as young as when we're very small, we're taught to compete with each other.
The school structure, yeah.
Not just the school structure. As women, we are socialized to compete with each other. You have that constant notion that there is only 5 seats for women on a board of 20, so you're competing for the 5 seats, whereas the men are competing for the 25 seats. So we're always taught to be less than. We're always taught to think of limited. The second thing I think is, I mean, oddly, my experience has been very different to yours, because the older I've got, the less male friends I have, because I'm like, I can't, right? Like, because they find me threatening, right? Because I openly speak up, I openly, hold people accountable, and I think that makes people, especially people who don't want to be held accountable, makes them uncomfortable. I also think that it's not a Sri Lankan thing. It is a very much a global thing. And I think here what is happening, what makes me very hopeful, is I see a big difference, and I hear this from older women, that there's a huge difference in those who are like 30 and under. That we are much more, maybe we've also been very fortunate, right? We've always lived in an era about the female empowerment, and we were fortunate, whereas these older women have been battling it for like decades. So they are so fearful of their situation because that's been their reality. We've come into a situation where this girl boss idea was already out there and we've benefited. So we don't know what the reverse is. Therefore, it's been really interesting to me when I've spoken to older women. Like, for example, I heard this from actually recently from Kasturi Chellaraja, where she said the largest amount of solidarity support she got when she was appointed as CEO to the Hemas Group was from young women, and that they all wrote to her. And I've heard this a lot from older women. As someone, and for me, it's really interesting when I talk to older women, they say, women who've done fabulous things, they're like, suddenly they have these young women writing to me like, I Googled you and I found this article about you and you're amazing, and you made me so proud, and as a woman I'm proud, and they're like, what is happening? This is so new. So I think there's a huge generational shift that's happening.
I agree with you. I guess it's
a huge generational shift, because our generation has had ours and the Gen Zs, so the millennials and the Gen Zs, have had the privilege of living in this era where women have had their voices to express. We've had other avenues to express it, and that is because of the hard work put in by the women who came before us. So like if you take RGB for example, she wasn't a thing. Like, people didn't think she was so cool until the millennials came along and they made her into that rock star. And she was like, what is, she talks about that in her interviews, right? She was just like, I was like, what is happening? Like, why am I cool suddenly? And this is what we've done, and I'm so proud to be a part of this generation, and the generation that's coming after us is even greater. Young people, younger women, young girls, they are Gen Zs where it's at, because they're just so vocal, and they're able to be vocal because they've always lived in a world where their voices have been important, and people have told them. So I see a huge generational shift in that, huge, and it's so.
But now
I have so much gratitude for it.
Right. Definitely.
It's changing, for sure. It's changing so quickly and so fast.
And like you said, it's the Gen Zs who are now very vocal and out there. But what about other women, our generation, maybe older, who are also struggling to kind of have their voices heard, get them to speak up? What would you suggest that they could actually do to?
So I see that change also, Shiham. Like I see it so much with older women, like my mother's generation, stuff I don't think she even thought about when she was in her 40s. Like now, it's, how before it was the aunties who held you back? Now I find it's the aunties who are standing up for us in certain situations. Not everyone, but suddenly certain, like I watch, groups being set up on Facebook, and a lot of them are driven by these older women who are drawing so much strength from this environment which is suddenly coming up. And I think it's really, for me, it's really special to see, because like there were people I watched in my life, relatives, who like previously I used to be like, oh God, I can't, are they going to say something? And now suddenly they are like recently somebody I knew, I was in a meeting, like with friends of my mom's, and one of these ladies, she was saying, somebody sent me this video, right? And she's talking about how she's a sex worker. Initially I was worried, but now I'm thinking, why shouldn't she be ashamed? And I'm sitting there being like, what is happening? Like, what is even happening? I'm watching that shift take place, and that's because, you have social media, you have media, traditional media like Cosmo, who has shifted the game, right? Who, the kinds of films, the kinds of work that's now being able to be pushed out, and people are finding their voices, and I think that's such a amazing thing to see, because there are things that even, it's also interesting to watch films that people didn't really care a lot about before. suddenly people are rediscovering them and rewatching them and being like, yes, this is such a great film. I'm like, this is like 10 years ago. Like we were excited, 10 years ago. They're like, no, but now it's, they're seeking out these things, they're looking for these things. And I think we need to embrace this really brilliant catalyst that's happening, and we need to be more happy about it and talk about it more, because it is changing. I really feel there's a fundamental shift.
I think people are holding, because media is the third parent, right? Like you grow up, your ideologies are all based on what you're taking in from whether it's social media to movies to TV series and whatnot. And I find that the fact that people are being more vocal, people are being more socially responsive, more conscious, and calling people out on stuff. I find that even media has improved a bit more. They are now holding. People are holding them accountable. So now the rhetoric is changing. So it's really beautiful to see that at this point in time.
Yeah,
it's powerful.
And what was the question? Because I feel like we've we've just like gone through all the topics.
We have. So Sharanya brought up the whole point about how Gen Zs are now more vocal.
Yeah. But what was the question you asked?
The question was, given that the Gen Zs are now vocal, how can other women of different generations also find their voice, apart from being online?
Thank you.
That was the question. I was like,
I feel like, I know this whole movement is going on and stuff, but also I think we have to understand that there is just such a vast number of people out there that maybe it's not, especially in Sri Lanka, like this movement might not touch everybody, and there are some intersections and certain groups and all who may still struggle. And I can only say that if you are trying to speak up in your own personal life, one thing is I really value, I think we can all say, like mothers, I think play a huge role in the way you raise your daughters.
And
I
sons
think
also.
the way you talk to your daughters, I think that really gives you a lot to kind of build up this courage to speak up where you can speak up, because someone told you and showed you by example when you were young that you can speak up. So that is, I think, like a shout out to mothers in Sri Lanka. I think across the board that's something that you have power in doing. And other than that, I would say one thing is social media people use. If you have a way of using social media, there's like a million different ways that you can learn how to use it to speak up. And otherwise, I would only say by action. I think in your own life, you don't have to do anything grand or even a campaign or anything. Just
could be not making that cup of tea in the morning.
Just like whatever it is in your own personal life, the way you conduct yourself, and if you can say that you are working with honesty and with truth and with kindness, and you have some principles that you stick to in your work. I think that will come naturally then.
I think you're spot on, because I watched women who have influence over their kids. Every fantastic man that I have met has had a really fantastic set of parents, particularly a fantastic mother who's held him accountable for his nonsense, who's been like, that's not how the world works, like every single one. And I think spot on, like I think mothers play such a big role, and you have such a, and I also just want to say that fathers play a much bigger role than we think. Because at the moment, Every Story is working on a project where we're documenting stories of Sri Lankan women. And it's been very rare that we haven't come across a story where a woman hasn't talked about a man in her life that helped her get to where she was. Very often it's fathers. In most women's cases, it's fathers. In a lot of cases, it's also partners. And others have also talked about brothers, male colleagues, male friends, which to me was so interesting, because I keep saying we don't do this alone, right? And it takes a village. And as men, it is such a chance to self-reflect and say, who am I bringing along with me? What door who am I opening a door for? And it can be a very simple thing where it is calling out something or telling your female colleague how much you're getting paid so that she knows whether she's getting paid fairly or not. Something very small as well.
I think nowadays you see that so much more. Like I see so many male feminists now, men who are standing up and taking women by the hand and opening those doors for them. And that's where I think at the end of the day, you need that, like Sharanya said, don't look at it as male and female. We're one team at the end of the day, and we're going together in this journey of life, you know. And whether you like it or not, we are interdependent in, you know, in our own lives, and men and women, we have to go through this together. So it's really important, and it's beautiful to see that nowadays you have the new culture, the new generation are so much more aware of this. And it's not about, okay, you're a man, you're a woman, I have boobs and you don't, and you know, it's really beautiful to see that.
Yeah, I would say though, Steph, I think what concerns me is that I find that there are two extremes that are emerging now. You have those who are really wonderful, empowering, but those who are getting worse are really getting much, much worse than it was before. Like,
But don't you feel
not
like
the
the
younger
tolerance
generation.
is less now?
The tolerance is
There's a lot
absolutely
more
less.
calling out
There is,
happening.
Sharon,
absolutely.
do you think the younger generations?
I think there are those who are worse than they were. Like, for example, if I take street harassment in Sri Lanka, my mother-in-law talks about how in the 70s she used to walk smoking down down Flower Road. No, she's quite open about it. I can't imagine she'll be furious with me, but well, too late now. But how she used to walk down Flower Road like in a pair of like a short skirt smoke, and I was like, I can't imagine doing that now. I can't
Things were
imagine
more
walking
chilled out
same.
in the 60s,
Yeah,
70s.
70s
Look
also.
at the
but-
movies. All the girls are in little tiny booty shorts.
No, but
and
what
crop
I'm saying
tops.
is, what concerns
Sri Lanka
me
movie,
is that
yeah.
those who are in silos and bubbles and like, and it's a global trend, right? The right wing is just as loud and just as vocal, in some ways more vocal than it was like even a decade ago. There is a trend also of those who are worse, and some of them are very, very young men. Like some of the men I have seen in Sri Lanka even, very young, like 17, 18, 19, who are, it concerns me. So I think there are two sides to this. We also can't be complacent and say like, yeah, younger generation is wonderful, like our job is done, go to
Actually,
sleep.
about that, I was
Yeah.
all this while I just couldn't help but think about the older women who want to speak up but can't because they're stuck in toxic relationships like marriage. And to them, a divorce is
The worst.
such
Yeah.
it's groundbreaking. Unlike us, like if a friend of ours is going through a toxic marriage, first of all, like divorce him, right?
Yeah.
But I know, and I've spoken to so many older women who can't because they are now trapped in this system for so many years, for decades, and they are parented by their parents who have a narrower vision and a narrower mindset. So I don't know the answer to it, but I just can't
But-
help but think of them because they
Yeah.
probably want to speak up. They probably are raising their kids
Actually,
to be strong
yeah.
and empowered, but they can't speak up for themselves because they're stuck in these systems that were put in place in the first place as something not so empowering.
I think one thing that can help is, I think one of you said earlier, like when you see someone else doing it, you also are able to do it. Like even like the talk show that I did with Shanuki the first season, I think there was an episode on divorce, and so many people came flooding in the messages like, thank you for talking about it. And to think that something as simple as marriage and divorce is not being talked about here.
Yeah.
And
it's
but
like-
everyone started talking when they saw it. So I think if at least by your own example you start being open
Yeah.
and talk about these experiences, difficult experience in our lives openly, then people will see it and by representation be able to.
Yeah, but it's kind of really like heartbreaking to think that
It
there are
is,
so many
it
women who
is.
are much older. They've spent a majority of their lives being in relationships. They're raising amazing kids.
Yeah.
They're probably raising kids that they don't
Yeah.
want. They don't want their kids to be a reflection of who they were growing up or who
Or
they
they
are.
want something better for them.
But it's
something,
really
yeah.
heartbreaking. Like I couldn't help but sit and think about all the women who couldn't get out of a very bad situation because A, they were with a toxic partner, and B, because of toxic parenting. Because their parents were more
Yeah.
concerned and are still concerned about societal shame.
I think if
So-
you're a parent, you hold so much responsibility.
I don't know, I feel like the Gen Z
Because
is
you
doing a good
share.
job and my heart just goes out to so many older women. Like
Yeah.
it's sad.
On
They're
that note,
just
Sorry, I need to cut off. We are at the end of our session. 1 hour flew by.
It was
Thank
1
you.
hour.
It was 1 hour. Thank you so much, Sharanya, Shifani, Stephanie, and Abhinav for sharing your thoughts.
Thanks
This
for
was
having us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah,
for
thank you for having us.
Of
We love
course.
this.
I mean, this was probably a very enlightening conversation for a lot of our viewers. Thank you to everyone.
for us too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Yeah.
It was amazing. It was, I
Yeah,
It was
it was
refreshing.
amazing.
Yeah, it was refreshing.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and watched. I hope you enjoyed it and stay tuned for next week's one.